What if one of the most iconic flavors in American whiskey was perfected by a man whose name history almost erased? What if the smoothness you taste in Tennessee whiskey came from the hands of a master distiller born into slavery? And what if that master taught the very man whose name became a global legend? This is the remarkable story of Nathan Nearest Green, the hidden innovator behind one of the most recognized whiskey traditions in the world. A story of craftsmanship, a story of resilience, and a legacy that history nearly forgot. In the early 1800s in Tennessee, a man named Nathan Green was born into slavery. Very little was formally recorded about his early life. That silence itself tells a story. But what we do know is powerful. Nathan Green became a master distiller, not by title, but by skill. On farms and in small distilling operations, whiskey wasn't just a drink. It was chemistry, agriculture, fire control, fermentation science, and Nearest Green mastered it. Long before industrial production lines and stainless steel columns, distillation required instinct. You had to understand grain behavior. You had to read temperature through flame color. You had to taste and detect subtle shifts. This was not guesswork. This was expertise. To understand Green's impact, we need to understand something called the Lincoln County process. Tennessee whiskey is not simply bourbon made in Tennessee. It has a defining step that changes everything. Before aging, the clear spirit is filtered slowly through sugar maple charcoal. This process softens harsh notes, removes impurities, creates a smoother mouthfeel, builds depth, and historical accounts indicate that Nathan Nearest Green was a master of this technique. Charcoal filtering requires precision. The wood must be properly burned into charcoal. The charcoal must be layered correctly. The spirit must move slowly, not rushed. Temperature and timing matter. Too fast, and you lose refinement. Too slow, and flavors flatten. This wasn't mechanical labor. This was sensory science. And Nearest Green excelled at it. In the mid-1800s, a young boy began learning distillation in Tennessee. His name? Jack Daniel. According to historical records and company acknowledgments, Jack Daniel learned distillation from Nathan Green. Imagine that moment. A young apprentice, an experienced master distiller, steam rising from copper stills, the scent of fermenting mash in the air. Green didn't just show steps. He taught technique. He taught patience. He taught the charcoal mellowing process that would later define a brand known worldwide. The foundation of what became Jack Daniel was built on knowledge passed directly from Nearest Green. And yet, for generations, Green's name barely appeared in public records. As the distillery grew, so did its reputation. What started as small-scale production expanded into an internationally recognized whiskey brand. The flavor profile, smooth, mellow, distinctive, became a signature. The Lincoln County process became central to the identity of Tennessee whiskey. And behind that identity, the techniques refined and taught by Nearest Green. Over time, the brand's founder became a household name. But the master who trained him faded from mainstream memory, not erased intentionally, but absorbed into the silence of incomplete records. For decades, whiskey history books highlighted founders, expansion, business growth, but rarely the craftsmen whose hands shaped the spirit itself. In the 21st century, researchers and historians began re-examining distillery records and oral histories. Local accounts, archival documents, family records. A clearer picture emerged. Nathan Nearest Green was not a side figure. He was a central technical authority. In recent years, his contribution has been formally acknowledged by the distillery and widely recognized in historical discussions. Even more remarkably, his descendants were connected to the distillery workforce for generations. His legacy had never truly disappeared. It had simply gone unrecognized publicly. And recognition matters, because history is not just about founders, it is about builders. This story isn't about controversy, it isn't about politics, it's about craftsmanship and historical completeness. When we talk about innovation, we often focus on branding, but innovation also happens in technique, in process refinement, in flavor engineering. Nearest Green represents something powerful, skill that transcended circumstances, expertise that shaped an industry, a mentor whose influence extended well beyond his lifetime. The smooth character of Tennessee whiskey didn't happen by accident. It was crafted, filtered, refined, and taught. Let's go deeper into what charcoal mellowing actually does. When fresh distillate comes off the still, it can contain sharp congeners, compounds that contribute to harshness. Filtering through sugar maple charcoal adsorbs certain impurities, softens volatile compounds, begins flavor development before aging even starts. This step differentiates Tennessee whiskey from most bourbons. Barrel aging later adds vanilla notes from oak lignin, caramelization from charred barrels, subtle spice from wood tannins. But the foundation, that initial smoothness, begins with charcoal filtration, and Nearest Green mastered it long before modern chemical analysis existed. That level of sensory skill is extraordinary. Today, Nathan Nearest Green is increasingly recognized as a foundational figure in American whiskey history. His story reminds us that innovation often comes from those working quietly behind the scenes. The copper stills may bear one name, but the knowledge that shaped them carried another. Nearest Green's legacy is not just about whiskey. It's about mentorship. It's about mastery. It's about the hidden architects of global traditions. The next time you see a bottle of Tennessee whiskey, remember the hands that refined its smoothness. Remember the teacher behind the legend. Nathan Nearest Green, a master distiller, a mentor, and a craftsman whose influence shaped an industry. History is not static. Sometimes it simply waits to be rediscovered.